We are Anka. You can support us with the Super Thanks button below.
Nobody wants to accept defeat. It requires great maturity to be able to accept defeat. Those who don't want to accept defeat keep on fighting. Or they try to change the rules and cheat. That is what Putin, who suffered a historic defeat against Ukraine, is doing. Russia realized that it could not win this war against the resistance of the Ukrainian army. Putin decided to use an unusual method to change the situation. But Ukrainian soldiers managed to foil this plan. It was like a movie. Anka Daily News team learned all the details of this event through Ukrainian soldiers. Thanks to this extraordinary effort of our team, the whole world will learn about the heroism of the Ukrainian army. Our team needs support to continue this work. You can support us by using the Super Thanks button below this video. If you are ready, we can now share this extraordinary event with you. When Putin realized that the Russian army was not enough to defeat Ukraine, he thought of an interesting method. He ordered to confiscate the clothes of Ukrainian soldiers captured by the Russian army. Russian soldiers put on the clothes of Ukrainian soldiers and were sent to the war zone. The soldiers were first sent to the Russian-occupied Kharkov region. At midnight, they were to secretly cross into the area controlled by the Ukrainian army. They would be sent to Chernihiv Oblast, north of Kiev and bordering Belarus. From this area, they would launch an attack on the Belarusian border. This would make Belarus think that Ukraine was attacking it. As a result, the Belarusian army would wage war against Ukraine. Putin's plan was quite simple. Similar plans have been implemented in other wars. It is called a false flag operation. Usually, states carry out such operations to make themselves look victimized and gain international support. But the false flag operation is nothing but slander. After Putin explained this plan to the Russian commanders, about 100 Russian soldiers were deployed. These soldiers were selected from different battalions. The Russian army assigned the most inexperienced soldiers for this operation. Because it was thought that these soldiers would be killed by the Belarusian army during the conflict, Putin kept sending soldiers to their deaths. 100 Russian soldiers, recruited from 10 different units, set off wearing the military uniforms of Ukrainian prisoners. These soldiers were loaded into 5 20-passenger military vehicles. The soldiers crossed into Ukrainian territory in small groups. Only then, Ukrainian soldiers noticed them. However, no one suspected them because the Russian soldiers were dressed in Ukrainian military uniforms. But the soldiers at the Ukrainian Army Observation Tower became suspicious of the increase in the number of troops in the area. They started watching the new arrivals through binoculars. All of these soldiers looked very worried. But the Ukrainian army had no plans for a new operation in this area. The scout soldier became more suspicious and continued to observe them. As he looked through the binoculars, he noticed something extraordinary. There was something strange about the uniforms of these soldiers. The Ukrainian flag crest on the sleeve of the military uniforms was upside down. The spotter immediately informed his commanders. The commanders came to the observation towers and started looking through the binoculars. The upside-down flags were a sign. The Ukrainian military knew that Russia had carried out false flag operations in many wars. It was thought that Russia could also carry out such an operation in this war. That's why all the soldiers were trained in this. The captured Ukrainian soldiers were told that they had to remove the flags from their uniforms and glue them upside down. And the captured Ukrainian soldiers did just that. This is how the Russian soldiers were exposed. Thanks to a very clever strategy, Zelensky's commanders managed to foil Putin's plan. But it was not easy for Ukrainian soldiers. 100 Russian soldiers had arrived at the base, and there were only 20 Ukrainian soldiers. Ukrainian soldiers immediately came up with a plan. First of all, they wanted to scatter the Russian soldiers in different areas. 4 Ukrainian soldiers prepared the rockets. 6 soldiers took over the machine guns. The other 10 soldiers took their weapons and waited for orders for the operation. Ukrainian soldiers first tried to divide the Russian army in two. The soldiers were fired at from 2 different sides. The soldiers at the machine guns fired from 2 different directions, splitting the Russian soldiers in two. At this stage, soldiers with rockets came into play. Russian soldiers were targeted with rockets fired one after the other. The Russian soldiers, who had suffered great losses, realized that they had been exposed. They grabbed their weapons and started to open fire, but guns were useless against the rocket attack. By the time the Ukrainian soldiers ran out of rockets, 56 Russian soldiers had been killed. But there was still more Russian soldiers. But the Russian soldiers were very inexperienced. The Ukrainian soldiers continued to fight with great courage. Moreover, strategically, the Ukrainian soldiers were in a more advantageous position. Ukrainian soldiers fired from watchtowers and trenches, but the Russian soldiers were completely unprotected, and they had nowhere to run. Ukrainian soldiers used their machine guns very well. After a long battle, 33 more Russian soldiers were killed. The Russian soldiers realized that they could no longer win this battle. They decided to lay down their arms and surrender. 11 Russian soldiers laid down their arms and surrendered. The surrendered Russian soldiers told everything during the interrogation. This is how Putin's false flag operation was exposed. The Ukrainian Northern Operational Command issued a statement on this issue. Ukrainian authorities reported that Russian forces are trying for possible false flag operations in the international border areas of Chernihiv Oblast. The International Institute for the Study of War has also published its latest report on Russia's false flag operations. These reports reveal how desperate Putin is. Putin is furious that this plan is not working. Putin is doing his best to involve Belarus in this war, but without success. It is now almost impossible for the Russian army to win this war. All Putin's plans are running out. Zelensky's government has made a very strong preparation against all Putin's plans. Since the beginning of the war, all of Putin's attack plans have been successfully thwarted. Ukrainian intelligence is also working hard to expose Russia's attack plans. As a result of these efforts, it is known that many of Russia's attack plans have been exposed. The Russian military is suffering from a major intelligence failure. Many senior officials in Russia believe that this war must end as soon as possible. That is why some Russian officials are believed to be sharing classified information with the Ukrainian government. Ukrainian intelligence is doing top-secret work and intercepting Putin's plans. Putin is going crazy as all his plans are exposed. What do you think about Russia's false flag operation? What else do you think Putin will do to get the Belarusian army to join this war? What do you think about the exposure of Putin's plans? What do you think about the work of Ukrainian intelligence and military? Do you think the Ukrainian military tactics were successful in this operation? We are interested in your opinion. Follow us for more updates.
All rights to these videos belong to Anka Daily News YouTube channel. Our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook usernames are @AnkaDailyNews. Do not rely on any other social media publications. We legally fight all websites and channels that use it without our permission.